Today we have an LG washer dryer that won't drain. It's giving us the OE error, and it's very common. These drain motors only last about 4 years on the LG. Kind of cheap, and we have to replace them. So we're going to unplug it. We're going to replace this one. Pretty easy to do on your own. You want to unplug it and then get the machine pulled away from the wall by about 2.5 to 3 feet. And you could pull off this little cover here to let any water drain out, because if it's not draining because of a bad motor, you might have a lot of water caught in there. So you want to get all the water that you can out before we replace the drain motor. So we got it leaned back about 45 degrees against the wall, so it's nice and secure. You might want to put something underneath it too, just to be really safe. We're going to open up this drain coin trap door, and we're going to take out these 2 screws with the Phillips head screwdriver. I'm using a Phillips head screwdriver that has a long extension. That's going to help me here in a few minutes when we go to take out the drain motor. So you want to get one that's a little longer than normal. I'm going to take this bottom plate off. I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver to pry on these clips here, and then I'll do it on the same on this side. I can get this plastic cover off, and then I'll have pretty good access to the drain motor. On the regular LG washer, it's a little bit harder to get to the drain motor, and the drain motor is also located on the left side, but on the washer dryer it's located here on the right side, and pretty easy to get to because you can just take off this plastic panel. So here's our drain motor. We're going to pull off the 2 power connecting wires, and then we'll get them out of the harness here and push them off to the side. Take out 3 Phillips head screws that are holding on the pump. Be very careful that you keep these screws separate, because there's 3 screws holding on the pump to the housing that are a different size. We don't want to confuse them. So let's make sure we separate these, put them off to the side, and they're going to be put on near the end of the video. So now we're pulling the drain motor and housing a little bit out at an angle so we can get to the 3 screws that are holding on the worn out drain motor. And the type of screws are Phillips head, but it's recommended to use a brand new Phillips head bit, because these ones are a little bit hard to get out if your bit is old and worn out or a little bit stripped. So I'm taking out these 3 screws holding on the pump. And again, it'd be good to use a brand new Phillips head bit. These screws are a little bit fatter than the ones that were holding the drain housing onto the frame. This one's a little shorter, a little bit fatter. So now we're going to wiggle off the old pump. Notice the position of the pump is about 11 o'clock in regard to the housing. So try to remember that angle, because we want to copy that when we put it back on. Notice that this screw here that we're taking out of the old one goes here on the right side of the new motor. There's 2 holes there on the right side. There's one high up and one lower. You want to put it in the lower one of the 2 that are right next to each other. And then on the left side, you want to put it up in the higher up. There's 2 right next to each other. You want to go to the higher up. So the right side is the lower one, left side is the higher one. So this has a plastic protective covering on it. I'm going to take that off. Notice that the impeller's kind of loose, kind of wobbling around, and that's why it wasn't able to drain water. So these are just not very well made, and they only last again for about 3 or 4 years. So we pulled the old protective cover off. We're going to put it on the new drain motor. We're going to wiggle it on and then push it on as far as it'll go. You'll feel it click into place. I'm going to take a towel and clean out any kind of dirt or residue that might be in the plastic housing that the drain motor connects to. Sometimes you get some sand caught in there, and that can make for not a watertight seal, so you want to make sure it's really clean. So now we're putting the new drain motor onto the housing. I'm going to wiggle it in. again, notice that its position is at about 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I'm going to put in these screws now and hold it. Here's the one on the right side. So we're going to go righty-tighty. You want to get these screws as tight as you can. Remember, use a brand new Phillips head bit, and it'll be easier. Tighten up the one at the bottom. Take your time here, just make sure these are really tight. Otherwise you may have a leak after you get everything put back together and test it, which we don't want. So go a little bit extra here to make sure that these are very tight. We have one more screw left on the left side, and there's two holes there. You want to go to the one that's highest up, right next to each other, but go to the one that's highest up. And then we're going to tighten that one up. There we go. All right, now we're going to push the pump back into the frame. We're going to add those skinnier, longer screws. There's 3 of them that hold the pump housing onto the frame. And we kept them separate so we wouldn't confuse them and try and put them in to the drain motor installation. Get these in there tight. Okay, we're going to put the power wires back on. Give it a test. So when we tested this one, we noticed that it was not draining, and that happens. There was no leaks, but we just didn't see any draining action. When it was supposed to drain, you couldn't even hear the drain motor. So if that happens, there's a few things you can check here. Go over how to do the checks. I'm just filling it with a little more water, so I'm making sure there's no leaks. This is in the early part of the cycle. So turn it off, turn it back on. I'm going to press the speed spin button to go to high speed spin. I'll press start. And that's a way to get to the drain feature a little bit faster, than you don't have to wait for the whole cycle. So when you press start, you should get the drain function. We just didn't hear the drain motor kick in. So we're going to try a few things. We emptied out all the water. And I'm going to open up the coin trap here and make sure there's nothing caught. So the coin trap looks good. I don't see any obstructions. The tube going from the tub to the drain motor looks good. Nothing caught in there. So this tube that goes from the drain motor and goes to the drain exit tube, we're going to take it off and make sure there's nothing caught in it. Pulling that off, wiggle it. I'm going to look in there. Check the where the corner is, where it makes the turn. Make sure there's no coins or anything caught in there. It looks good. Put that back on. You could also blow through that tube too to make sure that air flows through there. Maybe clean it first, because it's probably pretty dirty, and then you can blow through it. I'm gonna put a piece of wire down into that hole. Yeah, I can see the wire there, so I know that nothing's caught in there. You know what it was, is it turned out to be this little piece of metal here, this terminal on the motor was bent out of position, so when the wire went back on it, it wasn't really making contact. So I checked that. Now it's got good contact. And now when I checked for the drain function, I could hear the drain motor kick in. I could see the water draining out, so back in business. So a pretty common occurrence for this LG machine. I hope this will help you guys to get yours going, where you can replace it on your own, save a lot of money, maybe a couple $100 instead of having a technician do it. And it's pretty easy to do. It should only take you about maybe half an hour. You can put that plastic cover back on, put the drain tube through, put it in on these metal tabs, and just push it shut, and we are done. Watching our video, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance, and also click the little bell notification button so we can send you weekly videos on all the different ways of fixing appliances around your home and saving you lots of money. So thanks again for watching, and please also press the like button for our video if this was helpful to you. Feel free to contact me at the email listed below, which is scottthefixitguy@yahoo.com, with any of your questions.